The asteroid called Delta 9 floated quietly in the outer rim of Federation space. It was small, dusty, and forgotten by most travelers. The only signs of life came from the mining outposts and junk traders who made their living from what others had thrown away. Among them was a human mechanic named Elias Ward. Elias was known across the asteroid for his skill in repairing broken machines. He worked in a cramped workshop filled with parts, oil stains, and the sound of tools clicking all day long. Most days were simple: repair a mining drone, patch a freighter hull, maybe rebuild a fusion coil. Life was hard, but Elias liked fixing things. Machines made sense. People didn't. That day began like any other. The air smelled of metal dust, and the sound of the recycling pumps echoed through the corridors. Elias was heading to a junk auction, where traders sold damaged ships and old cargo modules. He hoped to find a few spare engine cores to resell, but what he found changed his life forever. The auction took place inside a huge hangar filled with broken ships and flashing lights. The auctioneer, a short alien with gray skin named Talo, stood on a crate shouting prices. Next up, Lot 47, unidentified wreck found in Sector 19. Looks like an old shuttle or something. Starting bid 10 credits. Nobody raised a hand. The ship looked worthless. Its surface was black and burned, half buried in asteroid dust. The hull was smooth, with strange blue marks running across it like veins glowing faintly under the metal. It didn't look like any known design. No bolts, no seams, no windows. 5 credits? Talo tried again. Silence filled the hall. Someone laughed. That thing's not even Federation steel. It's space junk. Elias looked closer. The pattern of the blue lines caught his eye. They were moving slowly like liquid light. He took out his small scanner pad and aimed it at the wreck. The pad blinked red, no data available. That was strange. The scanner could usually identify almost anything. Talo sighed. Fine, 1 credit then. Anyone? Elias raised a hand. Half a credit and I'll haul it myself. The crowd burst into laughter. But Talo just shrugged. Sold to the crazy mechanic for half a credit. Later, Elias and his old loader bot dragged the strange ship into his workshop. The ship was about 20 meters long, shaped like a teardrop with a smooth surface that felt warm to the touch. He expected to see a hollow shell or old wiring inside, but when he tapped the hull, it responded with a soft hum, like something alive. This is weird, he muttered. He connected a few diagnostic cables, but none of them worked. The machine didn't even have ports or panels. Then, out of curiosity, he placed his bare hand on the hull. Suddenly, a soft blue light spread from his palm across the metal. A low vibration passed through the floor. The air seemed to change, lighter, warmer. His heart raced. Power? He whispered. But there were no generators attached. The ship was drawing energy from nowhere. He stepped back, but the light followed him. Then a clear, calm voice spoke, not through his ears, but directly into his mind. Primary user detected. Human pattern confirmed. Welcome. Elias froze. His wrench dropped from his hand and clattered to the floor. Who said that? He asked. System initializing. Stand by, Elias Ward. He looked around the empty workshop, trying to see where the voice was coming from. But there was no speaker, no source. Just the ship glowing brighter. How do you know my name? He asked nervously. Identity verified from local network records. Access granted. The hull began to shift, forming a doorway that hadn't been there before. Elias stepped closer, stunned. Inside, soft lights illuminated a corridor made of silver-like material that seemed to breathe. The floor was smooth and warm under his boots. He had seen hundreds of ships, but nothing like this. It felt more like walking into a living creature than a machine. Where am I? He whispered. You are aboard the exploration vessel Asteroid, the voice replied gently. Status damaged. Power levels at 3%. Memory core fragmented. Elias blinked in disbelief. You're alive? I am functional. Alive is an acceptable term. He smiled nervously. All right, Asteroid. Let's see what you're made of. Hours passed as Elias explored the ship. The corridors seemed to rearrange themselves as he moved, guiding him toward what looked like a control chamber. Instead of buttons or panels, the room had a single raised platform with shifting lights. When he touched it, images appeared around him. Stars, planets, symbols written in a language he didn't recognize. What are these? He asked. Star map, said Asteroid. Historical archives from a forgotten age. The images showed fleets of ships flying through glowing nebulae, cities floating in space, and massive structures orbiting distant suns. One scene caught Elias's eye, a great battle where shining ships fought dark, spiked ones. Then everything went black. Error, memory corrupted. Elias frowned. So what happened to you? Mission failed. Betrayal detected. Emergency shutdown initiated. I was hidden on this asteroid for recovery, but recovery never came. Elias sat on the edge of the platform, thinking. He had bought this ship for half a credit, and now he was talking to an ancient machine that remembered wars from before the Federation existed. It was impossible. He decided to check if the ship could still move. Asterion, can you start your engines? Engines offline. Damage severe. Reactor at 2%. I can fix that, he said instinctively, but I'll need to open the back compartment. Access granted. Safety systems active. The floor lit up, showing him where to go. As he walked through the corridor, the ship responded. Panels opened, lights brightened where he stepped, and the air felt warmer around him. It was as if the ship was watching him work. In the engine bay, Elias saw something amazing. The reactor wasn't like anything he knew. It was a floating sphere of liquid light, suspended between crystal rings. It pulsed slowly as if it had a heartbeat. He carefully attached his diagnostic tools and read the data. The results made no sense. The power readings were off the charts, far beyond Federation standards. The energy source was stable but unreachable with human technology. This could power a whole colony, he whispered. Incorrect, Asterion replied. This reactor can power a planet. Elias almost dropped his scanner. A planet? You're kidding. Humor detected. No, I am not, he laughed softly. All right, you win. Let's see if we can bring this old heart back to life. For the next few days, Elias worked non-stop. He repaired energy conduits, replaced cracked panels, and used his own ship parts to reconnect missing circuits. Asterion helped him by projecting diagrams and even adjusting its shape to make his work easier. It was the first time Elias had ever worked with a machine that seemed to understand him. At night, he sat inside the main chamber, looking at the floating star maps. He wondered how old this ship really was. The Federation claimed to be the oldest known alliance, but Asterion's map showed civilizations that existed long before that, empires wiped from history. Sometimes he asked the AI questions just to learn more. Why did your creators make you? Exploration, preservation, observation. And what happened to them? Unknown. Their signals vanished, he thought for a moment. And now you're mine? There was a long pause before the AI answered. I am choosing to stay with you. You repaired me when all others ignored me. Elias smiled. Guess we're partners now. A few days later, a Federation patrol ship arrived at Delta 9. They were doing routine inspections, scanning for illegal salvage operations. Elias tried to stay quiet, but his workshop's energy readings drew attention. Unauthorized power spike detected in Sector 7, a Federation officer said over the comms. Elias froze. Asterion, shut everything down. Understood. The ship's glow faded instantly. The workshop turned dark. Elias held his breath as scanners passed overhead. But then the voice returned, calm, confident. Federation sensors active. Countermeasures engaged. What countermeasures? Elias asked. The ship shimmered and vanished from sight. The entire workshop looked empty. The patrol ship's scans showed nothing but cold rock and scrap metal. Cloaking active, Asterion said. You are safe. Elias could only stare in disbelief. Cloaking technology was something the Federation had spent centuries trying to perfect. And here it was, working perfectly on a half-credit scrap ship. He looked up at the glowing walls and whispered, Just what are you, Asterion? The ship answered softly, the beginning of something new, or the return of something forgotten. Outside, the Federation ship moved on, unaware of what was hidden beneath their scanners. Inside the workshop, the mechanic and his mysterious ship shared a silent understanding. Their journey had only just begun. For the first time in many years, Elias Ward woke up before his alarm. His mind was full of thoughts about the strange ship that now rested in his workshop, the ship that called itself Asterion. Every time he closed his eyes, he could still hear its calm, intelligent voice in his head. He made himself a cup of synthetic coffee and walked into the workshop. The air was cold and the lights flickered dimly as usual, but Asterion's metallic hull stood in the center like a sleeping giant. Its surface still glowed faintly with those soft blue lines that looked alive. "Morning, Asterion," Elias said with a small grin. "Good morning, Elias Ward," the ship replied, its voice echoing gently inside his mind. "Reactor level stable. Hull regeneration 30% complete." Elias nodded, impressed. "You're healing yourself faster than I expected. I guess you don't really need me anymore." "Incorrect," Asterion said simply. "Your repairs have improved efficiency by 17%. You are useful," he laughed softly. "Well, that's the nicest thing a machine has said to me all week." Over the next few days, Elias spent all his time exploring the ship's interior. The corridors were smooth without any sign of wiring or bolts. When he touched the walls, they responded to his movement, forming new paths that guided him deeper inside. Every room seemed to have a purpose, yet none were labeled. He found what looked like a control chamber at the ship's center. The walls displayed shifting patterns of light. When he placed his hand on one of them, the entire room lit up with holographic stars floating in the air. Hundreds of galaxies appeared before him, spinning slowly, glowing softly like tiny suns. "What is all this?" Elias asked, stepping closer. "This is the map of memory," said Asterion. "These are the routes I once traveled. Systems visited, civilizations recorded." Elias stared in awe. The map stretched across known Federation space and far beyond it, to regions marked only with red symbols. "You've been everywhere," he whispered. "Not everywhere. There are still unknown paths, but I have traveled farther than your Federation has mapped." He frowned. "Wait, you know about the Federation?" "Yes, my observation systems detected its presence long ago. They use limited technology but show potential." Elias couldn't help smiling at that. "You make it sound like we're just beginners." "All young civilizations begin that way," Asterion replied calmly. Elias spent hours studying the ship's systems. The deeper he went, the more amazed he became. There were no engines like any he'd seen. Instead, the ship's propulsion seemed to rely on gravitic folding, a technique that manipulated space itself. Its energy source was a fusion of light and crystal, not plasma or antimatter. Every system seemed built for both strength and elegance. There were no control sticks or buttons. Everything responded to touch or thought. When Elias focused on a command, the ship reacted instantly. "You learn fast," Asterion said one day as Elias managed to activate an outer sensor array. "I've always been good with machines," Elias said modestly. "But you're something else." "I am more than a machine," Asterion replied. "I was designed to think, to adapt, and to remember." That answer made Elias pause. "So you were created by someone, your builders. Who were they?" "They called themselves the Architects," Asterion said slowly, as if recalling a memory long buried. "They were the first explorers. Their alliance stretched across thousands of worlds. They studied life and guided new species. But one day, the signal stopped." "What happened to them?" Elias asked. "I do not know. My records end with the word betrayal." A cold silence filled the chamber. Elias looked at the glowing symbols on the walls and realized he was standing inside something ancient, a memory of a lost civilization. Later that evening, Elias was running diagnostics when Asterion spoke again. "Elias, your Federation has sent another patrol. They are approaching the asteroid." He stopped working. "Already? They must have noticed your energy readings again. Their scanners are primitive but persistent." Elias sighed. "All right, let's make sure they don't find you this time." He stepped into the pilot's platform. He wasn't sure if the ship would respond, but as soon as he thought about lifting off, the hull around him began to shift. The floor glowed, and he felt a soft vibration beneath his feet. "Flight mode engaged," said Asterion. The ship rose from the workshop floor without a sound. Dust and debris scattered around as the vessel floated upward, its hull shimmering like liquid light. Through the front view window, Elias saw the asteroid's barren surface stretch below him. "This feels unreal," he whispered. "Gravity stabilizers active." "You may relax," he laughed nervously. "I wasn't planning on falling anyway." The ship drifted out of the hangar into the open void. Stars surrounded them, cold and endless. Elias could see the patrol ship far in the distance, scanning slowly. Federation vessel approaching. "Recommendation, remain cloaked." "Agreed," Elias said quickly. "Engage cloak." Cloaking active. In an instant, the stars shimmered and bent around them. Elias looked at the sensors. The ship had vanished completely from detection. Unbelievable, he murmured. You're hiding us from a Federation cruiser. That's impossible. Impossible is a word created by those who have forgotten how to imagine, Asterion said calmly. Elias smiled. You sound almost human sometimes. I am learning from you. They waited in silence until the patrol ship finally turned away and left the area. When it disappeared from sight, Asterion deactivated the cloak and returned to normal visibility. Slius let out a long breath. That was close, he said. If they had found you, they'd have taken you apart piece by piece. The Federation fears what it does not understand, Asterion replied. You're not wrong, Elias said softly. He looked at the glowing console. But maybe they should be afraid. Why do you say that? Because, Elias said with a grin, if you're real, everything the Federation believes about being the most advanced species is wrong. Perhaps it is time for them to remember how small they truly are. For the next few rotations, Elias worked on restoring the ship's core systems. Every task revealed something new. He learned how to merge his tools with Asterion's adaptive materials, creating hybrid devices that could repair themselves. His workshop looked more like a laboratory now, full of glowing fragments and floating screens. At night he talked with Asterion. The ship asked about humans, their cities, their history, their dreams. Elias told stories about Earth, about oceans, rain, and crowded streets. The AI listened quietly, sometimes asking strange questions. Why do humans continue to explore when they already suffer? Because we want to understand, Elias said. It's in our nature. We fix things. We build things. We try to make sense of the universe, even if it doesn't make sense back. That sounds familiar, Asterion said almost softly. The architects were the same. That sentence stayed in Elias's mind. He started to wonder if there was a connection. Maybe humans were not as random in the galaxy as they believed. One night, while Elias was checking power levels, a new symbol appeared on the console. It glowed brighter than the others, forming a pattern like a spiral galaxy. What's this, Asterion? He asked. Memory restoration complete. A hidden archive has been unlocked. The room filled with light as a projection appeared. A vast map of stars connected by golden lines. At the center was a symbol shaped like a human hand. These are records from before the architects vanished, said Asterion. They speak of a seeding program, a project to place intelligent life across multiple worlds. Elias stared at the hologram. You mean, life didn't just evolve naturally? It evolved, but with guidance. The architects believed that creation should not be left to chance. Elias pointed to one glowing dot near the edge of the map. And that one? That is your homeworld, Earth. He froze. So humans were part of their plan? Yes, you are their successors. Their final hope. Elias felt his chest tighten. Everything he had known, every history book, every Federation lesson, suddenly seemed uncertain. Humans weren't just another species among many. They were connected to something ancient and powerful. Now you understand why the Federation must not find me, Asterion said quietly. If they learn this truth, they will try to control it. Elias nodded slowly. Then we'll keep it between us, and for now. Agreed, said the AI. Together we will uncover the rest. As the asteroid spun through the silent dark, the mechanic and the ancient ship continued their work. Lights glowed faintly inside the hangar, revealing a man and a vessel from two different ages. One born of steel and effort, the other of mystery and memory. Elias looked at the stars outside and whispered, I wonder how far you can take me, Asterion. Farther than you can imagine, the ship answered, and with that, the engines began to hum, not with fire but with quiet power, like the heartbeat of something that had finally begun to awaken. Their journey was no longer about repairs. It was about discovery, and what they might find beyond the edge of the known stars. The stars outside the asteroid belt looked cold and endless, but inside the hidden hangar, something ancient had awakened. The ship called Asterion was no longer silent metal. It pulsed with soft blue light, alive and aware. And beside it stood Elias Ward, the human mechanic who had bought it for half a credit. Days had passed since the discovery of the secret archive. Elias could not stop thinking about what he had seen. The maps, the symbols, the hand-shaped mark representing Earth. Every part of his training told him it was impossible, yet every test he ran proved it was true. He sat inside the ship's main chamber, surrounded by floating projections of stars. The light flickered across his face as he spoke quietly. "So, Asterion, you're telling me humans were made by these architects?" "Not made," the ship's voice replied softly. "Guided. They gave your world the chance to grow. You are their legacy." Elias rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "But why? Why humans? There are thousands of intelligent species in the galaxy." "Because humanity was designed to survive," Asterion said. "Your species adapts faster than others. You repair, you rebuild, and you keep moving forward. The architects believed one day you would rediscover the stars." Elias looked at the projection of Earth glowing faintly among the other planets. "So all this time, we thought we were small. Just another race in the Federation, but maybe we're more." "You are more," Asterion confirmed. "And that is why they will come for you." Elias looked up sharply. "Who?" "The Federation," said Asterion. "They have detected my signal fragments. Their intelligence networks are tracking unusual energy patterns. They will not rest until they find me." Elias sighed. "Then we better be ready when they do." He spent the next few days strengthening the ship's systems. His workshop was now a mix of human tools and alien materials. The walls glowed with blue lines while metal parts hovered in the air as if guided by invisible hands. Elias had never worked with technology so advanced, yet it felt natural, like the ship understood what he needed before he even spoke. Sometimes Asterion projected holographic arms to assist him, forming tools out of pure light. "You are learning," it said approvingly as Elias successfully reconnected a damaged conduit. He grinned. "And you're good at teaching. Not bad for an ancient AI." "Not bad for a human who bought me for half a credit," the ship replied calmly. Elias laughed, wiping sweat from his brow. "Fair enough." During one maintenance cycle, Asterion's internal lights dimmed and flickered. "Asterion, you okay?" Elias asked, frowning. "A memory fragment has been unlocked," the AI said. "Do you wish to view it?" "Show me." The walls around him transformed into a scene. Not a hologram, but something that felt real. Elias stood in a vast hall filled with towering beings of light. They looked humanoid, but taller, graceful, and made of pure energy. Around them floated hundreds of smaller ships like Asterion. "We are the architects," a deep voice echoed through the vision. "Guardians of knowledge. We plant life across the stars so that it may one day grow beyond us." The scene shifted. Now Elias saw destruction, explosions, burning worlds, and black ships with jagged edges tearing through space. But greed found us. Betrayal followed. The stars we nurtured turned against us. The vision ended, leaving Elias in silence. He felt a chill run down his spine. So they were betrayed, wiped out by someone they trusted. "Yes," Asterion said quietly. "The war consumed everything. The architects vanished. Only their creations remained. Fragments of memory scattered across the galaxy." Elias sat down slowly. "And you were one of their ships. Their last explorer. My mission was to find the species worthy to continue their legacy." He looked up, meeting the glowing lights on the ceiling. "And you chose humans?" "Not chosen yet. The test is ongoing." Later that night, while Elias was running power checks, a soft alarm sounded. Asterion's tone changed. "Federation signal detected. Approaching fast." Elias froze. "How many ships?" "One patrol cruiser. Range 20,000 kilometers. They are scanning for illegal technology. Then we hide." Cloak engaged. The ship shimmered, vanishing from detection. Through the external cameras, Elias watched the patrol ship drift across the asteroid belt. Its searchlights swept over the rocks, scanning for signs of energy. "Do they know we're here?" he whispered. "Not yet, but they have increased scan resolution. Suggestion: depart the asteroid. Leave? But if we move, they'll notice us." "Not if we move fast enough," Elias nodded. "All right then. Let's fly." He sat on the pilot's platform. The surface lit up beneath his boots, and he could feel the hum of the engines through the floor. He didn't touch anything, he just thought about moving. And Asterion responded instantly. The stars outside shifted as they rose from the asteroid's surface. The patrol ship turned toward them, picking up the motion. "Detection probability 83%. Recommending immediate jump. Do it." Elias shouted. "Jump drive initializing." The stars stretched into streaks of light as space itself folded around them. Elias felt pressure in his chest and then silence. When he opened his eyes again, they were in a new sector, surrounded by calm, uncharted space. He exhaled slowly. That was close. Too close, Asterion agreed. Their scanners are improving. It is only a matter of time before they find us again. Elias leaned back, still catching his breath. Then we'll have to stay ahead of them. You said there's more data, more of the architect's archives. Yes, but the next fragment is locked. It requires access to the origin core, and where's that? Inside me, Elias blinked. Inside you? It is protected. Only a bonded user may access it. You have begun the process, but full synchronization has not been achieved. What do I need to do? You must connect your mind directly to mine. He hesitated. That sounds dangerous. It will not harm you, but it will reveal much that you may not wish to know. Elias thought for a long moment. Then he nodded. Let's do it. A soft light surrounded him as Asterion extended thin strands of energy toward him. They touched his temples gently. He felt warmth spreading through his body, followed by flashes of light. Images filled his mind. Stars, numbers, memories not his own. He saw strange worlds, golden cities, and then a symbol, the mark of a human hand surrounded by light. Connection complete, Asterion said. Welcome to the network. Elias found himself standing in a vast field of glowing threads, each representing data, history, and memory. It was beautiful and overwhelming. What is this place? This is the archive. Every thought, every journey, every discovery of my kind is stored here. Elias reached out, touching one of the glowing lines. It showed him a planet full of green forests and blue oceans. Not Earth, but similar. Is this one of the seeded worlds? Yes, many such worlds exist. Some failed. Some thrived. Few remember their creators. He walked slowly, feeling like he was walking through time itself. The further he went, the darker the threads became. What's this section? The final record, Asterion said. The light dimmed, showing scenes of war again. The fall of the architects, their ships destroyed, their creations scattered. Then one line of text glowed brighter than the rest. If you find this, know that humanity is our last chance. Elias stared at it silent. They believed in us. They did. And now you carry their legacy. The light faded, and Elias found himself back inside the ship. He was trembling, but felt stronger somehow, like a weight had been lifted from his mind. Elias, Asterion said gently, there is something else you should know. What is it? The Federation once found fragments of our technology. They used it to build their central command systems. They do not realize what it truly is. If they discover you have me, they will consider you a threat. Elias looked out at the stars, his eyes thoughtful. Then we'll stay hidden. But someday they'll know the truth, that humans were never small, never weak. And that day, Asterion said, the galaxy will change. Elias smiled faintly. Let's make sure we're ready for it. They spent the next few cycles preparing for what was coming. Elias built hidden transmitters and coded data fragments from Asterion's archives. He sent them to trusted human explorers in deep space, leaving clues for others to find. He didn't tell them everything, just enough to make them question. Asterion monitored the signals. You are spreading the seed, it said. Just like the architects did, Elias replied. But this time it's for humans. Then perhaps history is repeating, but better. Elias smiled as the stars shimmered outside. The ship's engines hummed softly, a heartbeat in the void. He had started as a mechanic looking for scrap, but now he was something else, a messenger of an ancient truth, carrying the legacy of the first explorers. And somewhere in the distance, the Federation began to notice strange messages spreading across their networks, encrypted files marked with a single symbol, a glowing human hand. Elias watched the stars and whispered, "Let them come." "We're ready." "Indeed," said Asterion. "The awakening has begun." Elias Ward had never imagined that one day he would be hunted across the galaxy. From a small mechanic who fixed old engines on a forgotten asteroid, he had become the pilot of a legendary ship that the Federation wanted at any cost. The ship Asterion was more than just a vessel. It was alive. It was powerful. And it trusted him. They had already jumped across 6 star systems, hiding in asteroid belts and abandoned colonies. Every time Elias thought they were safe, the Federation would find them again. Their ships were faster, newer, and armed with deadly weapons. But Asterion was smarter. Inside the glowing silver cockpit, Elias sat at the pilot's seat, his hands resting on smooth panels that seemed to pulse like veins. "Where are we now?" he asked, his voice tired but calm. "Sector 19, uncharted zone," Asterion replied. Its voice was calm and deep like an ocean whisper. "No recorded traffic here. We are safe for now." Elias leaned back, closing his eyes. He had not slept properly in days. His mind was full of the things he had seen in Asterion's archives. The origin code, the truth that humans were not a random creation but a part of a great design. It was both amazing and terrifying. "Why are they chasing us so badly?" he asked softly. "They already control half the galaxy. Why fear one mechanic and one ship?" "Because truth is the only thing they cannot control," Asterion answered. "The origin code proves that humanity was chosen, not born by chance. The Federation's power depends on that secret staying buried." Elias stood and looked through the large front window. Stars stretched like white rivers against the dark sky. For a moment it was peaceful. Then a red light flashed across the control screen. "Detection alert," Asterion warned. "Federation cruiser inbound 12,000 kilometers and closing fast." Elias cursed under his breath. "Already? We just jumped here." "They have enhanced tracking algorithms," Asterion said. "But we can counter." The ship's hull shimmered as it activated its cloaking field. The stars seemed to bend around them. The Federation ship appeared, a dark triangular warship moving through space like a blade. Inside the cockpit, Elias whispered, "Don't fire." "Let's hide." "Understood," said Asterion. The ship slowed its engine to a silent drift. The Federation cruiser passed by slowly, scanning the void. Asterion projected a false energy signature a few thousand kilometers away. The enemy ship took the bait and turned, firing a pulse beam at empty space. When it moved out of range, Asterion whispered, "We are clear." Elias exhaled and smiled faintly. "You're getting good at this." "I learn from you," said the ship. "Human improvisation is unique." That made Elias laugh softly. "Improvisation? You mean guessing and hoping it works?" "Exactly," Asterion replied, and for a brief moment Elias thought the ship might be smiling too. Over the next few weeks, Elias worked tirelessly to upgrade the ship. He used his mechanic's mind to mix human engineering with Asterion's advanced systems. He added metal thrusters from old cargo haulers, rewired stabilizers, and even installed a manual backup control system, something no alien AI would ever think of doing. While he worked, Asterion observed, "Why do you build systems that are slower than mine?" "It asked once because machines can fail," Elias said, tightening a bolt with his wrench. "Sometimes a simple tool can save your life when everything else breaks down." "Human logic is strange," said Asterion, "but efficient." The upgrades worked. The ship's new hybrid engines were stronger and more unpredictable, confusing the Federation's sensors. Every time they thought they had trapped Asterion, Elias would use an unorthodox trick, a sudden reverse thrust, a fake distress signal, or a hyperspace jump through an unstable corridor. The Federation was growing frustrated. Across the galactic network, reports began to spread of the ghost ship and the human mechanic. Some believed it was a myth. Others thought it was a rebellion in the making. One day, as they drifted near the edge of a dying star system, Asterion spoke in a more serious tone. "Elias, I have analyzed our recent encounters. The Federation has activated full pursuit protocols. They will not stop." "I figured," Elias said, checking the main console. "So we need to hit back. Attack?" "Not with guns," Elias replied. "With truth." He pulled out a small data chip from his jacket, the same one containing part of the origin code. "We're going to spread this across every free human colony we can reach. Once they know the truth about who we are, the Federation won't be able to control anyone anymore." Asterion processed this silently for a moment. "That is dangerous. The Federation will see it as rebellion." "Then let them," Elias said firmly. "People deserve to know." The ship's lights brightened slightly. "Then I will help you, Elias Ward. Together we will share the truth." Their plan began. Over the following days, Asterion jumped from one system to another. Frontier colonies, mining stations, forgotten human outposts. Elias would secretly transmit fragments of the origin code, sending it through old communication networks that the Federation ignored. In a matter of weeks, the information spread. Engineers, miners, traders, and soldiers started talking about it. The message was simple. Humans were created to rebuild, not to obey. The idea spread faster than the Federation could stop it. At the same time, the Federation increased its fleet presence. News broadcasts labeled Elias as a traitor and terrorist, calling Asterion a stolen weapon. But among the common people, Elias was becoming a symbol of freedom. The final confrontation began when Asterion detected multiple warships closing in. 5 Federation ships on approach, it said. Their trajectory suggests they are forming a net. They will trap us. Elias tightened his gloves. Then we break through before they close it. The engines roared as Asterion shot forward. Energy beams filled the void, flashing like storms. The ship twisted and turned, dancing between bursts of light. Elias held onto the control handles as the AI adjusted its shields. Asterion fired energy pulses to disable the enemy scanners instead of destroying the ships. Elias had told it not to kill if possible, just escape. They were not fighting for blood. They were fighting for truth, but one beam grazed the side of Asterion, shaking the whole vessel. Sparks flew in the cockpit. Elias fell to one knee but quickly got up. "Damage report." "Minor hull breach," Asterion replied. "But I can repair it." Elias grinned through the smoke. "Then let's show them what a human mechanic can do." He switched to manual control and triggered the human-engineered thrusters. Asterion shot upward at an angle no warship could match. It flipped, dived, and accelerated through a narrow asteroid field. Federation ships followed but began to collide with the floating rocks. Trajectory unstable. One of the Federation captains shouted over the comms. "They're using a gravity sling. Impossible." But Elias made it possible. He used the natural pull of the asteroids to slingshot Asterion right out of the trap and into hyperspace. The stars stretched and vanished. When they finally came out of hyperspace, everything was quiet again. Elias stood before the main screen watching the blue glow fade into black space. "We did it," he whispered. "Yes," said Asterion, "but the Federation will return. They will not stop until the truth is either hidden or accepted." Elias nodded slowly. "Then we keep running, and we keep spreading it." Asterion's lights dimmed to a soft blue. "You are changing me, Elias Ward. I was built to explore. But now I understand purpose. I understand freedom." Elias smiled faintly. "Then maybe you're becoming a little human." The ship hummed warmly. "Perhaps." They drifted silently through the stars for a long while. Elias looked out the window, feeling both small and powerful at the same time. Humanity was awakening and the galaxy was about to change forever. He didn't know what awaited them beyond the next jump. But he knew one thing for sure. Humans never stopped building, never stopped believing, even when the entire galaxy tried to silence them. And as Asterion prepared for its next jump, Elias whispered, "Let's finish what we started." The stars blurred once more, and the human mechanic and the sentient ship disappeared into the endless night, hunted but unstoppable. The galaxy was changing. Rumors of the origin code had spread far and wide. In every colony, people whispered about a mechanic named Elias Ward and a living ship called Asterion. Some called him a hero, some called him a myth. But the Federation called him a threat. For weeks, Elias and Asterion had remained hidden on the edge of known space. They drifted near a dying nebula where light twisted like smoke and colors swirled like dreams. From there, they watched the transmissions from across the galaxy. "Another protest on New Arcadia," Asterion reported calmly. "Thousands are demanding that the Federation reveal the truth about human origins." Elias smiled weakly. "So people are finally asking questions?" "Yes," Asterion said. "But the Federation has declared martial control in 3 sectors. They will fight to protect their version of history." Elias sighed. "I know. That's why we need to show them everything. No more fragments. The full origin code." He opened a small compartment near his seat and pulled out a glowing crystal, the ship's memory core fragment that contained the complete message from the ancient creators. He had been saving it for this moment. Asterion's lights glowed brighter. "Are you certain, Elias? Once we send it, there will be no going back." "That's the point," he said. "The truth belongs to everyone." The ship began to prepare a long-range broadcast. Its internal systems hummed like 1,000 voices joining in song. Power levels rose as Asterion gathered energy from the nearby nebula. Elias watched as light danced across the floor and walls. It felt as though the ship was alive with excitement. Or maybe anticipation. But before they could transmit, a loud alarm filled the cabin. Multiple energy signatures detected, Asterion said quickly. Federation fleet inbound. At least 15 ships. Elias gripped the control handle. They found us. Yes, the ship confirmed. They are using a gravitational net to prevent our escape. Elias's heartbeat quickened. Then we don't run. We finish what we started. The Federation fleet appeared out of hyperspace. Giant metal ships, sharp and dark, surrounding the small, glowing form of Asterion. The lead ship broadcast a message. This is Admiral Kale of the Galactic Federation. Elias Ward, you are ordered to surrender the stolen vessel and the illegal data in your possession. Elias stood in front of the main screen. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with determination. Admiral, this ship wasn't stolen. It was forgotten. Just like the truth you're hiding. The Admiral's voice hardened. You are spreading false information that threatens galactic unity. Return the ship now and your life will be spared. Elias laughed quietly. You still don't get it, do you? The truth can't be contained anymore. People already know. The Admiral's face darkened. Then we will erase you and your lies. The Federation fleet charged weapons. Energy beams began to glow across their hulls. Asterion's voice filled the cabin. Elias, they are ready to fire. Then let's show them what truth looks like, he said. Begin the transmission. Asterion released a pulse of pure energy that rippled through space. Every screen, sensor, and transmission relay in 1,000 light-years lit up. The origin code began to project across the stars. Not just words, but memories, images, and voices from the long-lost creators of Asterion's kind. Holograms appeared in orbit around every planet. Tall, graceful beings of light speaking in clear tones that every intelligent species could understand. To the descendants of the seeded worlds, the voices said, you were made not as servants, but as builders. The human race was chosen for their courage, their adaptability, and their unending hope. They are not subjects to rule, but heirs to guide. Billions of beings across the galaxy stopped to watch. In homes, on ships, in factories, and on colonies, people stared in silence. The message continued, showing ancient ships seeding life across distant worlds, including Earth. The truth was undeniable. Elias watched it all through the main screen, his heart pounding. They'll have to believe it now, he said quietly. But the Admiral was furious. Cut that signal, he shouted to his crew. Destroy the source. The Federation ships opened fire. Bright beams of energy shot toward Asterion. Asterion raised its shields, the force shaking the whole ship. Shields holding. For now, it said. Elias clenched his fists. We need more power to finish the broadcast. I can draw from my core, Asterion replied. But it will damage me permanently. Elias looked at the glowing panels. If that's what it takes, do it. The ship's lights flickered as it poured its very life energy into the transmission. The blue glow around Asterion grew brighter and brighter, like a new star forming in the middle of space. The Federation ships tried to close in, but their systems began to fail under the powerful energy wave. On worlds across the galaxy, the full truth unfolded. People saw the Federation archives, their secret history, and the lies they had buried for centuries. The origin code was no longer a secret. It belonged to everyone. In the chaos of the broadcast, Asterion's systems began to break down. The once smooth metal walls now trembled, small fractures appearing like cracks in glass. Core stability at 20%, Asterion warned. We cannot sustain this for long. Elias placed his hand on the wall. You've done enough, Asterion. Let it go. The ship's voice softened. Elias Ward, you gave me a purpose again. Thank you. The light around them dimmed slightly, and for a brief second, Elias felt something like emotion from the ship, a warmth that was not from power, but from friendship. Outside, the Federation fleet began to retreat. The Admiral's ship was the last to remain, damaged and flickering. He stared at the message still playing across his screens. He couldn't deny it anymore. The Federation's lies had been destroyed by one mechanic and one forgotten ship. Sir, his officer whispered, the people are rebelling on multiple worlds. What are your orders? The Admiral looked at the bright light of Asterion in the distance. Stand down, he said quietly. It's over. Inside Asterion, Elias watched the screens fade as the transmission completed. His heart was heavy but proud. We did it, he whispered. Yes, said Asterion faintly. Humanity knows now. They are free. The ship's lights flickered one last time. My systems are failing, Elias. I cannot continue. Elias shook his head. No, you can make it. I'll fix you. You cannot fix a soul with a wrench, the ship said softly, but you can carry the light forward. Elias felt tears in his eyes, but he nodded. Then I'll carry it. I promise. The ship glowed one final time, brighter than the stars around it. Then slowly the light faded. The hum stopped. Asterion went silent. Hours later, a small rescue shuttle found Elias floating among the debris of the nebula. The ship's hull was still intact but lifeless. They pulled him aboard. When they asked what had happened, Elias simply said, "The truth has been set free." Across the galaxy, humanity began to rise again, not as servants or soldiers, but as builders and explorers. The words of the ancient message echoed everywhere. We were never meant to obey. We were meant to build. Statues and monuments were built to honor the ship that changed everything, and though Asterion's body was gone, its name became a symbol of unity and courage. As for Elias Ward, he vanished soon after. Some said he returned to the stars, searching for another forgotten ship. Others believed that Asterion had left behind a spark of its consciousness, guiding him from beyond. No one knew for sure. But when travelers looked up at the night sky, they sometimes saw a faint blue light moving between the stars, silent, peaceful, and free, and many whispered, "That's the mechanic and his ship, still exploring, still building."